this is another edition of No Fluff, No Stuff. It's sure enough, no fluff, no stuff. And it's an environment where we're free to be ourselves. We're not pretentious. We're not putting on fake characters. We're not in church, so some of the things those of us who go to church say may not necessarily, be suitable for you, or you think are things that Christians ought to say. But, we just going to be real. We're going to talk about politics today. And I want to start by saying that I think one of the misnomers about political activity, Andre, Lacey, and Stephanie, is that people think when they go in that booth and vote, that is how they leverage change. And my own personal opinion is that's just the start of the process. I have to hold people accountable. But I also want to say that it's not true that we don't get anything for what we vote for. Mm-hmm. I mean, every single thing, your death certificate is signed by somebody that was voted for. Your birth certificate signed by someone that was voted for. And there's often some person sitting in some obscure place you never see, never know. Their name will never be on the tip of your tongue, but yet they're making decisions that affect and impact your life. And so I always say, if you don't want to vote, you're letting somebody else decide. Let me just say this. Charles Farmer, a friend of my dad's, came to TULC when I was about 10 years old, and he gave a talk. He said, politics is the most mundane art of who gets what and how much. And anyone who does not want to be involved in politics wants someone else to decide what they don't have.
Wow.
Yeah. Well, thanks, Ralph, for the education on the elected official who signs off on my birth and my death.
But, and your driver's license and everything else
too. But my thing is, I think some people in our community have really kind of fallen off the, why should they be voting?
Right.
Because they feel like politicians, when they want your vote, they say the same thing over and over about what they're going to do when they get in office. But I always say it's not what they do once they're elected. It's what we should be doing once they are. Mm-hmm. Keeping the pressure on, going to the community meetings, following up with phone calls. Because the pressure that we can unite to vote somebody in office is the pressure we can unite to get them to make the decisions on policy issues that we want for them to act on, and the same pressure we can keep up on them to vote them out if they don't go
absolutely
with the way in which we want them to go.
But does this generation understand that type of engagement? I remember
they
when
don't,
I was
because
younger.
They're too busy watching Sexy Red.
Your generation votes the least.
Right, we vote the least. Well, not just me, but Gen X, Y,
and
Z.
I don't know those age categories. Yeah, but I know that the vast majority of voters in the city of Detroit are senior citizens. Mm-hmm. I know, and I struggle with this with my daughter, and I've told her this for years. Mary, as popular as you are, you need to find a way to engage your young people. They show up when she has Occupy the Corner and a rapper out there.
And that's what we're going to keep on showing up for. We show up because you're doing something that matters to us, right? And
entertainment.
Yeah, well, not just entertainment, but hey, is this going to affect the way that I live, right? So now it's like, hey, this is affecting my neighborhoods. I'm mad that y'all racially profiled my nephew last week. I'm mad that you shot old girl, you know what I'm saying? So now it says, hey, let me come outside of the house, let me get off my phone, and let me start being engaged with who has the power to make some of these decisions.
What they say, Rev, all politics is local. Mm-hmm. And like you said, people are going to start showing up when they start to see the issues that impact them in front of their face. Say, oh, wait a minute, there are policies attached to the people we vote for, just like in black communities across this country, like in Chicago. Yeah. Right now, you see a lot of black residents are saying illegal immigration or illegal migrants being bused there is impacting their way of life and their resources.
Well, I could understand, in a normal context, how people would wonder whether or not their vote makes any difference. But given the fact that we have Trump in the White House, and all of the things that are attendant to his delusional self, to suggest that your vote doesn't matter is absolutely absurd. I mean, I've done some broadcasts, and I really believe that we're at risk of losing our democracy. This country could very well slip into a dictatorship. The president has power over the military, and it's just absolutely insane. Now, if you don't want to vote, at least vote this time. Because
But that's what
I'm sorry. What you gonna say,
That's what
Lacey?
they said last time, and that's what they keep saying last
But
time.
I mean,
you need to vote this time.
I think. Now I've been around. I mean, I was around when Kennedy ran against Nixon, and he won by one vote. He won by one vote per precinct. All across this country. That's how close that election was.
I mean, Trump's election, it was pretty close as well.
Yeah, but I'm saying is, I mean, we have such a contrast here. I mean,
We definitely do.
I mean, this guy. I mean, and I have a little slogan that's gone kind of viral. I did it on CBS News, and is I'd rather take Biden in a wheelchair than Trump standing up. Okay.
But I think voting too, because when we talk about voting, and I think we need to note that it's much bigger and deeper than just our president. Like when we talk about our everyday lives, a lot of people don't realize it's really your state legislators that are changing our everyday lives. Like your mayor, your city council, your governor. You need to be looking at who you're putting in those offices as well. So don't just pay attention.
And most
to
of
the
us don't
national
even
politics.
show up to vote during those elections.
Our governor, you just released, and I printed it today, her budget highlights. What we get per pupil for education, for example. That's increased under our current governor. When I had a school, it was $7,500. I don't know what it is now, but
looking at
I
the
mean,
issues
when
too,
you talk about the city of Detroit,
matters.
what do we do with our tax money? What do we do with all these grants? We know a lot of money's been going to billionaires for building projects, but yet we have black Detroiters, single women who've been in homes for 45 years, can't put a new roof on, but they got to pay $4,000 a year in taxes. So you're absolutely right. I think that's a great point, Lacey. From a larger perspective, what the president does is extremely important, but we also have people that affect the quality of education in our schools.
But it's also historical context too, because we've had a whole civil rights movement about giving us the access and the opportunity to vote, the right to vote.
Right.
And Rev, I know you have that.
Well, again, my dad was head of the Birmingham Voter Education Project. I grew up through the civil rights movement. I know when you had to guess the number of bubbles in a bar of soap and peas in a pot. But that brings an interesting question because, or statement at least, and that is, it seems that when we were denied these things,
Right.
when we couldn't use them, they had more value. And so I don't know what it's going to take for people to wake up and realize that the vast majority of Americans who don't vote allow the tyranny of the minority.
I think it boils down to ignorance. I think people don't really understand the importance of voting. Yeah, you hear vote, it's important, but why is it important? How do people understand that? How much funding goes into our education system?
Well, that's
Greg
what I was about to say.
And how much, or even looking at Roe versus Wade now, how it was overturned, and now it's
based on a Republican president who appointed these people.
What I think.
And by the way, I'm going to cut you off, but also the fact that the U.S. Senate, Mitch McConnell, denied Obama his duly elected right to appoint a Supreme Court justice. Right.
But looking at those things and knowing the importance of them. Go ahead, Andre. Go ahead.
No, you're absolutely right.
Go ahead.
But to that point, isn't that a part of the democracy that you say that the Republican-led Senate at the time denied President Barack Obama? Was it really his right to nominate a Supreme Court justice, or was it the democracy that put that amount of Republicans in office to say, no, we're going to pass on you putting your own person on the Supreme Court? That's a part of democracy too, right?
Here is where the rubber meets the road and why young African-American men who are accosted by police and everyone else need to vote. Because if we had majority control, then the rules wouldn't change every time Republicans don't like what they see. And so here was a standard practice that had been honored for years. But because we had a black president, right, and
the threshold to vote.
The fact that they did not allow the president's nominee to be even voted on. The rules change all the time for them. Those who are in power, and by the way, we live in the era of white male anxiety. I tell people all the time, everything we see, whether it's immigration or Make America Great, is all rooted in white racism. People believing that this is their country and the rest of us ain't entitled to a damn thing. And I mean, it's just like Nazi Germany. The slogan, "Make America Great Again," comes from Nazi Germany. Make Germany great again.
Mm-hmm.
The parallels are startling. The lack of participation is frightening. And the potential for what could happen in this country is very real.
But why do black people, and we're seeing it in the polls right now, why do black people feel like they don't feel heard or they don't feel the importance of voting in this particular election?
Fad.
Because here's the thing. Black people have had a history in this country of voting Democrat, right?
Not always.
Not always.
They were Republican.
They switched after
switched
Kennedy.
with Kennedy.
Right.
They switched
That
with
was
Kennedy.
the first election
Because
that
it
switched,
initially
yes.
started with the Republican support, or at least
But it was
the
a different
Party.
Republican Party.
Exactly.
Right.
That was involved with the Emancipation Proclamation and the freedom of the slaves.
Right.
Yeah.
But right now, we're starting to see the black vote slip from Democrats, particularly President Biden right now. And why is that?
Because it's fashionable, man. I mean, I'm so sick of these fads. I mean, people they just get into this rut. They get into this, cycle. And if enough people say this is what we're going to do, and after a while, everybody's saying it. Don't know why they're doing it.
Yeah, I think it's propaganda, though. The news media is going to choose what issues to highlight, and it causes a frenzy, which kind of just gives a facade over the real issues, because I'm concerned that we don't know the real issues that are on the line. All of a sudden, it's just this big hype about, inflation, and Joe Biden is the reason why your groceries are so high. So now
we got one of the best economies, man. I mean, the inflation has been cooled. I mean, the unemployment is an all-time low. I mean, it's just propaganda.
It's
Absolute
propaganda at its
propaganda.
finest. And we don't have the wherewithal to go in and even know, to your point, even to know how the judicial system works.
But we do know this.
I think Biden and Trump had the same issues when it came to the economy. Trump had a good economy at 5.3% unemployment, which is what Biden has right now. But Trump had that in October of 2019 before the pandemic. Now that we're coming out of the pandemic, Biden has that right now because those jobs have recovered. Inflation has gone down as well.
Yeah.
And you can argue that Trump revved up inflation when he sent out those checks. But Biden sent out checks
But
too.
again, the propaganda says Trump put money in our pockets. And so they turn it and make it look like Trump is gonna put money in your pocket. Trump is gonna go against the system. He gonna fight for us. And so that's the picture
Stacey,
that they paint.
do you believe that Donald Trump is stable? Do you believe that we should believe all this crazy stuff he's telling us? He's telling us what we're gonna do. Rarely does a politician
He say he gonna stop the
be
war.
honest. And normally they tell us something completely different than they actually do when they get in office. Yeah. But this guy's telling us he's gonna tear the damn country up.
And people are saying, yes,
Hold on,
tear it
I
up.
want to hear from Lacey's young, and you're in the news media now, so you hear how people package things all the time, right?
I do.
Right.
I do. Trump, with me, what I can't pass his politics. It's just his character. It's just who he is as a person, his raunchiness. And I think the thing that I don't care for him, like the reason why I don't care for him is a big reason why other people do. People are attracted to that honesty to say, I'm gonna tear the country up, or I want to make America great again by getting rid of all the immigrants and things like that. So I just feel like with Trump, he just lacks class, and for me, he just doesn't. I just miss Obama. That's all. I just miss it. I miss his class. I miss his poise. I miss how he carried himself presidential all the time.
How much of this? How much of what we see now is a backlash of folks who had to restrain their racist tendencies for 8 years?
Exactly. So now they just want to.
Right.
They said when I think it was Chris Rock that made a joke that when Obama was in office, when Scandal would come on, white folks would get excited because they finally had a white president again. So it's like, oh,
wow.
If you're familiar with the show Scandal,
Yeah.
how there's a
Watched it
president.
once.
Yeah. Okay. Well, it was a joke, but I think a lot of people now, I think because he was in office for 8 years, now Trump is like, he comes out and is the total opposite.
And I think that people thought that was a true indication that racial relationships have changed. I don't think it's just immigration. I think you have a bunch of folks who've been told that the economy is bad. They have to find
Absolutely.
someone to blame, and we're just convenient. Well, can we shift for a moment to local politics?
Absolutely.
I mean, what do you see on the horizon in terms of of Detroit politics, Andre?
I think Mayor Mike Duggan is probably going to more than likely run for governor.
Yeah.
And I think then you're going to have a shakeup in this mayor's
You
race.
You think he'll stay in office? Because his MO has always been he leaves where he is so he can prepare to go where he wants to go. There's some pundits that believe that after sometime after the NFL draft before the fall that he may step down, or do you think he's going to stay in office until the end of his term?
I think at least through the November election.
Okay.
I mean, because the next mayor's race is in 2000?
Yeah, after this one.
2025. So I think he still has enough time to allow this year to go throughout, and at the top of the 2025, or at least right after the November election. I mean, because does he have to drop out being mayor in order to run for governor?
Well, no, he could actually run for re-election. The governor's race is in 2026.
That's in 2026.
Yeah.
So he can still be mayor up until,
Why don't I, that's you talk about earlier show about men had multiple women. Why would we let politicians have multiple offices? Hold on to this and then run for that.
I think Warren
Not a
Evans
good
may be
balance.
another option. I also think Mary Sheffield may be another option.
Who?
To jump into the race. Y'all share the same last name.
Well, and it was prophesied when she was 14 years old about this. I think it's going to be tough to beat Mary. I think that all powers be ordained of God. And I think that people can run for things, but it's really up to who the Lord wants to be.
Absolutely.
I think the major issues we have now is we spent all these years of our taxpayer money and other monies helping folks who left here and sent out press releases and celebrate that they were leaving, and they come back and get all the money, all the help and assistance. What are we going to do for long-term generational residents? What about people who've never left, who paid taxes even though there were no services? And I think that's going to be the shift in this next race, is that the people saying, it's our money spending on us. When are we going to take control? I mean, business folks don't live here.
I think there could be a policy shift in the next mayor's election. There also could be both a racial and generational shift as well. I mean, you talk about Mary Sheffield, you talk about Warren Evans, who may jump in that race. I think Warren Evans will probably have the likely older generation of Detroiters. He'll probably have that vote. Mary Sheffield will probably have the younger people's support. She does have the young people's
She's
support, but she
definitely
has to
going
get
to
them to vote.
engage. Yeah, she's definitely going to engage.
Mary
the
done
younger
exceptionally well. She beat Jewel Ware, who was known as the absentee ballot bag lady, and across the board, 80% of the senior vote. Mary gets senior votes. I mean, almost 60% of the voters plus in Detroit are seniors. So anybody in office getting senior votes.
I just want to pose this question. Detroit for years had white mayors, and then it elected Coleman A. Young, and then it was Dennis Archer, and then it was
Dave Bing.
Dave Bing. Well, before him it was Cockrell for a short period of time,
Right.
and then Dave Bing, and Kwame Kilpatrick, of course, before that.
Cockrell wasn't elected though.
Right, he was.
He filled
was
in because
appointed
of the right.
situation with Kwame. But I say all that to say is that we've had 5 black mayors, and then I guess Detroiters were like, you know what, we're gonna go in a different direction. They voted for Mike Duggan, but after having him for almost 20 years, is Detroit ready for
3 terms?
3 terms? Yes, 3 terms.
Yeah,
right.
3 terms.
Is Detroit ready for a woman?
Detroit is ready for change. I think that
Detroit ready for a woman mayor?
for change. I'm not sure.
It's happened all over the country. I mean, every major city but ours, a black
We're
woman.
ready for women in office,
Right.
period, because we have voices. We need to be heard, especially now with Roe versus Wade. Our rights are being attacked as women. We need women to vote for us and to speak for us and have that
There you
influence
go.
and power to be in office. So I think absolutely, I think every city in every state, we need city, state officials, legislators. We need that.
And
because
look
we
how
need a
well,
voice.
and look how
look
well,
like us.
look how well our black
Absolutely.
women have held everything else together. Without black women, our black church wouldn't exist. Without black women, our
Absolutely.
families would have been completely decimated. And I think people recognize that black women have done an unparalleled job in terms of where we are as a people. I mean, black men have done their part to some degree, but
That's why we're queens.
Yeah, but the truth is we're ready for change, and I'm excited about the future of Detroit.
I'm voting
need
for
to
Mary
vote.
Sheffield.
All right.
We sure you are.
I want to make sure everybody understand I'm with Mary.
Mary,
If
did
you didn't get
know?
anything away from this, just know
Look,
that's
Mary,
his baby and he's sticking beside her.
Look, Mary,
Yeah,
did
well,
you know?
I would vote for Mary if she wasn't my daughter. I mean, I'm quite proud of the class with which she carries herself. She's informed with her information, and I think she struck a pretty good balance between the need for development and the need to also care for long-term citizens.
I love that. I think that that's great and important. Go ahead, Andre.
No, you got
No, I just think overall, I think the general consensus here is that you need to vote on every level, every issue, every office that requires a vote. We need to get out and vote.
And thanks for watching this edition of No Fluff, No Stuff.